So this is my first YouTube video, and I know my friends, family on Facebook had said, hey, why don't you start producing videos? So here is just a example of a good steak topper or vegetables or put on mashed potatoes. So let's get started. I have been using pots and pans left and right for the last 20 years, and I've come to the conclusion about the pans that I use that the hex clad that I'm using right now is phenomenal. I bought the high quality stuff. They only last 2 years, 3 years tops. Anyway, let's get started with this and we'll see what comes out, and hopefully y'all like the results and we'll go from there. Anyway, so I'm going to start with the heat turned on. This is a gas stove, and you can use electric, you can use whatever you want to. Let's go ahead and bring the temperature down to about medium, add a little butter, and then I'm going to add my shallots. So we want our butter just to get in the pan so it's nice and coated, and we'll just add our shallots in there. We're going to let that cook down until they're almost transparent. You don't want to cook them too much, you don't want to get them burnt at all. Once that's done, then I'm going to add the mushrooms. There is a white button mushroom, there's a portobello baby mushroom that I'm going to add. So we're using portobellos, we're using white button mushrooms, we're using shallots, we're going to end up using beef stock, Dijon mustard, heavy cream, and brandy. Brandy will burn off the alcohol later on. So first thing first is just get your shallots going and get them somewhat translucent. Make sure you're constantly moving them, because if you don't, they're going to burn. And that's the last thing you want to do, is have a burnt taste on a topper. So, and what I mean by a topper, I use this a lot on steak. I use it a lot on mushrooms. I use it a lot on vegetables, whether it be broccoli or asparagus or green beans. And I mean, you can just use it on mashed potatoes if you want to. Once it's all cooked down and it's done, I mean, you can make it as thick or as thin as you want to. So we'll get this going fairly well. So they're starting to turn translucent now. So what I'll do is I'll add some mushrooms in here. Excuse my fine china, but it's cheaper on this fine china to throw it away than to try and wash it, because I'm single and I don't have a good dishwasher here that will take care of my stuff while I'm cooking. Anyway, so we'll just add some portobellos in. Then we'll turn around and add some white button. Spread them out nice and evenly. Right now I'm running on about a medium heat. And yes, I'm using a gas stove. So let's just kind of mix it all together. There are several plates, but I don't want to go too much on it. So once this all cooks down and it gets somewhat that you can see a different change in your mushroom color, is when you'll add your beef stock. So these shallots on a medium heat right now. They're starting to turn on color, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut this with some beef stock. So I'm just using a regular old Swanson's out of the can beef stock. Before I used to use these, and I hate them now because it just takes up too much space. I've switched over these silicone ones, and I love them a lot. I mean, just pop them on out, and then let me go ahead. I've got, this can is 14 and some odd ounces. I'm gonna add 8 ounces, which is a cup of beef stock, and right into the mix it goes. I'm gonna let this sit here and simmer for a little bit. Still wanna mix it up real good. Next is gonna be the fun part. This is what a lot of people have talked to me about and said, wow, that picture is unbelievable off your Facebook. So I want to get this going. I want all of the mushrooms is like a sponge. It's going to soak up all that beef stock. I want to get some nice bubbles going on here because that's bringing it up to a boil. When I add the next step, which is brandy, you want it to be at a high temperature because you want to burn off the alcohol. To do that, you got to bring it back up to a good kind of rolling boil. Once that is done, you add the brandy, and I know everybody told me, and this is brandy. I mean, you can buy cheap stuff, you can buy expensive stuff. It really doesn't matter because you're eating it, you're not drinking it. So I'll add that in, and you can see right now this is coming up to a boil. And then what I'm going to do is I'll add, and y'all asked me to put measurements. I kind of just go by feel, but we'll do some measurements. I used a cup of beef broth, so let's go with a half a cup of brandy. Might not be enough, but we'll see. So that's nice, and it's coming up to a nice boil right now. So let's go ahead and crack open the brandy. If you have a gas stove, you can tilt it to the side when we get to that point. If you're working on electric, flat top or whatever, then, you know, use a little stick lighter. So I'm going to add, this is half a cup. I like these a lot, I really do. I'm going to add a half a cup right now of brandy. Make sure my heat is up near high. That might not be enough brandy, but anyway, so your brandy is going to give you the sweetness. So once it starts coming up, take a stick lighter, or you can tilt it to the side if you're using the gas stove. I'm just going to go ahead and use a stick lighter, and then you're going to light it on fire. Or maybe not. Once this is going, I like to turn around, and I want it to really kick up. I want to burn all that alcohol off. Obviously, I didn't use enough brandy, so let's add a little more to it. Don't get your eyebrows close to it or any kind of hair, because it'll burn off. So obviously, you know, I started off with half a cup. That wasn't enough. And it could have been because of this pan and the 8 ounces of beef stock that I put in. But this is what the result that you want. You want it to burn off that alcohol. So you'll get that nice little sweet taste. So that's what you're going to get from the brandy. It's going to be so sweet, and you're not adding sugar to it. Make sure you mix it up really good. Make sure you burn all that alcohol off. Alright, so all the alcohol is burned off. I'm going to leave it on high heat right now, and I'm going to reduce this. So right now all your mushrooms and your shallots are soaking up all that brandy. It's soaking up all that beef stock. So we'll cook this down for a little bit. Next, I'll turn around and I'll add Dijon mustard. Yeah, I should measure it out, but you'll see what I do. It's not much. And then I'm going to add some heavy cream to it to thicken it up. And then I'm going to reduce my heat. But I'm trying to get this down, I would say 3/4 to a half reduced before I start adding my Dijon mustard and the heavy cream. I'm still on a high heat temperature so I can keep this going and reducing it by half. The one thing I love about these pans and pots is I've gone through a lot of pots and pans. You know, they say they're non-stick, but I've had these pots and pans. You could only buy it straight from the manufacturer when I started with them. And I'm not sponsored by them, and by no means at all. I just love the pans and the pots that they produce. Last time I checked and saw them in use was on Hell's Kitchen with Gordon Ramsay. So obviously the company is very well known. I love them a lot. I've gone through countless of pots and pans that don't last over the years. They just wear out. You bang them in your cabinets and everything else, and then they start tearing up, and then they turn into non-stick, become sticky, like when you're doing an egg. But we can use the same pan here that I've been using for the last 4 years, and I can still make a fried egg in it. I can make scrambled eggs. I can put cheese in it and melt it, and it never sticks. So here we go. It's about halfway down. I'm gonna go ahead and drop my heat down just a little bit. Right now I'm at medium. I'm gonna add just a little bit of Dijon mustard. I'm not even gonna break out the measuring cups. We'll just squirt a little bit in there. This just adds a little extra spice to your topper. Then go ahead and add a little heavy cream to it. Won't measure it out because just a small amount there, and then start mixing. And you'll see what happens to this topper. It'll change colors and it'll change consistency. If you want it to be more creamy, then add more heavy cream to it. I don't want it to be that. I don't want it to be that runny. I want it to be thick. So I'm still running at a medium heat right now. Once it starts to thicken up more, I'll reduce the heat down, and then it'll really get thick. But I mean, if you look at the pan, I'm scraping this, didn't add anything to it. I mean, this is a really true non-stick pan. And I've used these pots and pans for the last 4 to 5 years. And I mean, you can't do that with pans that old, especially after, me cooking with them. So we'll just reduce this down a little bit. I'm gonna go from medium to a low heat now and let it sit here and simmer and burn off some of that milk. Milk, heavy cream, what do you want to call it? I'm not an expert at all. I just love cooking. So let's get this to reduce. And then you'll see the outcome of it all. But this brandy, and I mean, you're getting the sweetness from the brandy because you burned all the alcohol off. You're getting the mushrooms, you're getting the shallots, you're getting that Dijon mustard that adds just a little kick to the whole topper. I'm gonna bring the heat back up just a little bit because I don't like the consistency that I'm dealing with right now. I want it to be a little thicker. I've used this on vegetables, anywhere from asparagus to broccoli to green beans. Talk about some mashed potatoes that are elevated, add this to it. Right now, the way the consistency is, add it to some mashed potatoes, it'll blow you away. But mainly I use this as a little side dish on top of a steak, whether it be a filet or a porterhouse or a T-bone. You can't go wrong with it because it adds so much sweetness. You get the mushrooms, you get the onions, and then you get this nice little sauce. I wouldn't even call it a gravy, but you could call it a gravy. So that's the kind of consistency that I want. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the heat off, and we just sit here and let it rest and let it set up. So there is a nice, complex, but very, very easy topper to add for steak, vegetables, or whatever you want to do. Y'all asked for it in a video. Here it is. I hope y'all enjoy. Look forward to more videos coming from me of my custom teriyaki sauce to a custom Japanese yuzu ponzu sauce. That one is very complex, but it's very easy to do. I started from nothing, and here I am now cooking and being paid to be a private chef for other people. So I hope y'all enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments and we'll go from there. Y'all have a blessed day.